The Baltic Sea holds many secrets from World War II, and every now and then, one of them is uncovered. This happened in 2006 when a Polish oil company, using sonar, accidentally spotted a massive object on the seabed of the Baltic Sea. Upon closer inspection, it was determined that the enormous object was a ship, comparable in size to the Titanic. Polish Navy divers and unmanned submarines were dispatched to the site. After 2 days of careful examination, the Polish Navy concluded that the sunken ship was most likely the massive German aircraft carrier Graf Zeppelin. The ship had been scuttled in 1947, and since then, its exact location had remained unknown. This discovery was truly unique, as it brought the only Nazi German attempt to build an aircraft carrier back into the world's spotlight. The 265-meter-long wreck lies at a depth of over 80 meters and is accessible even to divers, who have since conducted several expeditions to assess the ship's condition and understand the extent of the damage it sustained on its fateful sinking day. The construction of the Graf Zeppelin began on December 28, 1936, in Kiel, under the order of the German Navy. By the start of World War II, the ship was not completed to a stage where it could join the massive combat operations the Germans were conducting against Allied forces in the Baltic Sea and the world's oceans. The ship was primarily used as a storage facility for timber, as the Nazi leadership focused on other ships and submarines that could be built more quickly. Another reason for the ship's incompletion was Germany's occupation of Norway in April 1940, which required significant resources to defend the country's long coastline, including coastal artillery and anti-aircraft systems, some of which were taken from the Graf Zeppelin. Although the ship was not combat-ready, it made several short voyages to other ports during its brief existence. In July 1940, the Graf Zeppelin was towed from Kiel to Gdynia and used as a timber storage facility. About a year later, shortly after Germany's invasion of the Soviet Union, the ship was moved to Stettin, Szczecin, to protect it from Soviet air raids. By the end of that year, it was towed back to Gdynia, where it continued to serve as a timber storage facility. Over the next 4 years of the war, the ship changed locations several times, and in 1943, 2 years before Nazi Germany's surrender, it was towed to a dock in the Parnitz River near Stettin. When the Soviet army approached the city in April 1945, the decision was made to flood the ship and remove all its vital systems to prevent it from falling into enemy hands. Before flooding, a team of 10 engineers placed explosives on the ship, which were to be detonated when the enemy entered Stettin. On April 25, 1945, at 6 p.m., as Soviet forces entered Stettin, Commander Wolfgang Keller radioed the engineering team to detonate the explosives. The ship sank into the shallow, muddy riverbed and was no longer recoverable, at least not in a condition suitable for active military use. After the Allied victory in World War II, Nazi Germany's military infrastructure was divided among the Allies, and the Graf Zeppelin fell into Soviet hands. Less than a year after its scuttling, Soviet engineers managed to pump out the water and repair the ship sufficiently to make it float. However, the decision was made to destroy and sink it in the Baltic Sea. On August 16, 1947, the Graf Zeppelin was towed to its final above-water location, where it was met by Soviet air forces, which planned to bomb it with torpedoes and detonate the explosives placed on the wreck. This was done to understand the resources required to sink similar ships, which by then were part of the navies of the Soviet Union's former allies. To the surprise of Soviet military leadership, the ship was not easy to sink. Despite multiple explosions and torpedo hits, the Graf Zeppelin remained afloat. The fatal blow came from the destroyer Slavny, which struck the ship near its bow with a torpedo, sinking it within 25 minutes. Given the secrecy of the time, the fate of the ship was unknown to most of the world, and misinformation spread in the media, claiming that the ship had been towed to Leningrad for scrapping or had hit a mine and sunk in the Baltic Sea. Even the Soviet Union did not mark the exact sinking location, and the ship lay quietly at the bottom of the sea for nearly 60 years until the research vessel Sveta Barbara, operated by Baltic, stumbled upon it 55 kilometers from Ladyslowo. The discovery of the Graf Zeppelin in 2006 was a remarkable event that captivated historians, naval enthusiasts, and the general public alike. The Polish oil company Baltic, while conducting routine sonar scans of the Baltic Sea floor, stumbled upon the massive wreck by sheer chance. The ship's immense size, 265 meters long, immediately stood out, and its identity as the Graf Zeppelin was confirmed after detailed analysis by the Polish Navy. The wreck was found approximately 55 kilometers north of Ladysławo, Poland, at a depth of over 80 meters, resting on the seabed in relatively good condition despite its turbulent history. The discovery was significant not only because it solved a decades-old mystery but also because it provided a rare glimpse into Nazi Germany's ambitious naval projects. The Graf Zeppelin was the only aircraft carrier built by Germany during World War II, and its incomplete state and eventual scuttling symbolized the collapse of the Nazi war machine. The wreck's location had been lost to history, as the Soviet Union, which had ultimately sunk the ship, never documented its final resting place. This added an air of intrigue to the discovery, as the ship had essentially vanished from records for nearly 6 decades. Divers and researchers who visited the wreck after its discovery noted that the ship was remarkably intact, with its flight deck, hangar, and superstructure still recognizable. The Graf Zeppelin had been designed to carry up to 42 aircraft, and though it never saw combat, its design reflected the advanced engineering of its time. The wreck also bore the scars of its final moments, torpedo holes and blast damage from the Soviet attempts to sink it in 1947. These physical marks provided valuable insights into the ship's construction and the methods used to destroy it. The discovery reignited interest in the Graf Zeppelin's story, prompting historians to revisit its construction, its role, or lack thereof, in the war, and its eventual fate. It also highlighted the Baltic Sea's role as a graveyard for wartime relics, with countless other wrecks still waiting to be discovered. The Graf Zeppelin became a symbol of the untold stories lying beneath the waves, a testament to the complexities of history and the enduring allure of maritime exploration. The Graf Zeppelin's rediscovery in 2006 was more than just the uncovering of a sunken ship, it was a journey into the past, a chance to piece together a forgotten chapter of World War II history. The ship's story, from its ambitious beginnings as a symbol of Nazi naval power to its ignominious end as a target for Soviet torpedoes, reflects the broader narrative of a war that reshaped the world. Today, the wreck lies silent and still, a haunting reminder of the ambitions and failures of a bygone era.